Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. The build that you're about to see here is a pre-recorded build. So the video is edited for brevity, more than anything else. This build is going to the person who has been majorly responsible for my being able to do videos in the first place. And that person is Tony Wallow. He's also helped out Ken Stout in the past and continues to support both me and Ken. So Ken and I, with a couple of the Zoom homies, decided that we needed to do something for you, Tony. And what that is that we know that you're on the 7th gen Intel platform. And what we've decided to do is we've decided to upgrade your platform. So what you're about to see is for you, Tony. I hope that you enjoy it. Okay, so here is our platform that we're going to build today. We have a B760 Pro RS Wi-Fi, DDR5. We have 32 gig of DDR5, 6000 speed CL30 memory. We have our Core i7 12700K and a Silicon Power 2 terabyte drive. The cooler for this will be the Peerless Assassin 120 SE, which is a dual fan design. And that's pretty much it. This will all be assembled here in just a moment, and hopefully this should go right into the case that it's supposed to go into, which I believe is a Corsair 750D, which should have plenty of room for this. Anyway, what do you say we get started, okay? Okay, so let's get started. We're going to put all of this aside for the moment. Let's get our motherboard out. We've got our manual, we've got our Wi-Fi antennas, we've got our SATA cables. That's the first part there. All right, here's our board. Let's get that out. All right. Okay, so there's our board. Obviously still wrapped up. Let's get this open. Okay. All right, so here's our board. So let's go over a couple of things about this particular board, shall we? I'll see if I can get the zoom to work here in just a second. Okay, so we have our Wi-Fi module here already set. This is Wi-Fi 6. And we have our M.2 slots, one here, and one over here. Okay. Since we're only going to put one drive in this, we're going to put it right under here. There's our socket. There's our heat sinks and I/O. There's our 12-volt power over here. So we're pretty much there. So what I'm going to do at this point is I'm simply going to start putting this together. First thing I want to do is I want to get this foam off of here, which requires me to cut a couple of things here. So let me get a pair of cutters. Now, for whatever reason, I don't know exactly why, but I'm not going to argue about it. ASRock seems to want to make sure that the foam on this stays here. So we have to cut off a couple of ties, one here, one there, one over here, one over here. And I think that should be everything. Yes, it looks like everything. Okay. So let's get this separated from the foam. There we go. We're going to go over a couple of more things about this board real quick. We have our USB 3 here. Here's our USB 3 Gen 2 ×2 connector, which I don't believe the case this is going into has that connection, but if you should decide to change case, you have that there. Your SATA ports are obviously here. So that's pretty much it. So let's get the CPU opened up, and CPU box opened up, and we'll go from there. Okay. So this should be able to cut through this without too much trouble. Let's get the CPU out. There we go. And as you can see, let me turn this around so that it's the right side up. There we are. Okay, so we're there. First thing we're going to do is get this open. There we go. Let me see if I can put that in there a little bit. There we go. So we got that open. That should open up. I want to just double check and make sure that our pins are good, which I don't see anything off the top here that looks like it's out of order. It's a brand new board, shouldn't be any problems, but you never know. You want to check it just to make sure. It looks like all the pins are intact, so that's not a problem. Okay, next we're going to get our CPU out. And what we want to look for is we want to look for the right corner to put this in. This should only actually go in one way, but let's just double check it real quick. And it looks like, actually, I don't actually see a marking for how that's supposed to go in. But as I said, this should only go in one way. So let's get the package open. Let's grab the CPU. And let's see if, yeah, that looks like that's right. If we try to put it in the other way, which I will do here just in a second. Yeah, see, the notches won't line up. There's the notches are out of kilter here. I don't know if you can see that or not. Let me see if I can bring that a little bit more into the shot here. Okay, you may be able to see it or not. You'll notice that those notches on the CPU, which are right there, kind of hard to see. They won't line up with the notches in the socket. So it really can only go in one way. So we're going to go ahead and put that in. There we go. All the notches line up. So you can't put it in the wrong way. Alrighty. So we're going to close that. Bring that down. Bring this over here. Lock that. That should come out without any problem. There we go. Our CPU is in. Now, because of the nature of the cooler, this being a rather large cooler, the next thing I want to do is I want to put in the memory. So that's what's going to happen next. Okay, so this is a sealed package. I had to kind of rip it a little bit to get it to come out, but there's our one memory module right here. We're going to put that in. Let's see, we got, okay, all four of these actually open up. So let's move this down a little bit. There we go. And again, things only go in one way. So if I get it wrong, the notch is not going to line up. So if I try to put it in here like this, it wants to rock back and forth, so it's not lined up. We're going to rotate it. And we're going to put that. There we go. Those are down. So we get the second memory module out. And we'll rotate that around. And we want to skip a slot every time that we put in memory. So those two will go right there. Like so. There we go. That's locked into place. Let's just put the other ones up. So we're all set for that. Next thing we're going to do now is I think we're going to put in the M.2 drive. So let's go ahead and do that. So we got two screws here that have to come up. Okay, and they're not captive screws apparently, which I was a little surprised at. So you gotta be careful you don't lose them. All right, so let's get the cover aside. Let's get our 2 terabyte drive out of here. All right, so here's our 2 terabyte silicone power UD90. Now, some people prefer Samsung drives, some people prefer Crucial drives, so forth and so on. In my experience, the silicone powers are perfectly fine. I have one of this type in my gaming machine, which is also a 2 terabyte drive, and it's perfectly fine. So we'll go ahead and put that into the system. Then we'll put the cover back on, and that should be all set to go. Okay, so let's get that set like that. Let's see how this... Okay, so that's going to want to sit just like that. And there doesn't appear to be a place to screw down. This actually goes past this point. So that tells me that this cover here is supposed to hold that drive down. So that's fine. We're going to take the film off the thermal pad because this is a Gen 4 drive. It will get a little warm. It won't get like a Gen 5 drive. It won't get that hot, but it will get warm. So we're going to go ahead and place that down over there. Put our 2 screws back in here and here. Okay, so that's snug. That should hold our drive in place. All right, so the next step at this point is I've got to get the cooler onto here. So that'll be interesting as well. So let's see how that works out. Okay, so here's our Peerless Assassin. We're going to open this up. Rather large box in case you haven't noticed. I mean, that's my hand. It's a rather large box. So let's get this open. And it looks like we got here in the middle is the accessories, the hardware and so forth that we will need to put this all together. Our little instruction manual here, obviously. Here's our cooler, and there's the 2 fans. That this is a dual fan design cooler. We're dealing with a 12700K, so I wanted to make sure that we didn't have to deal with an all-in-one liquid cooler, but we also had something that would keep it under control. I will run all of the tests once this is all together, and you should see this handle this chip without any trouble whatsoever. So you pull that out of there, and again, as you can see, nice dual tower design. There are 6 heat pipes on this thing, so this should handle 12700K without any problems whatsoever. All right, and there's our 2 fans. Okay. So those will go on. Okay, so let's get this box out of the way. Try to keep that out of the way. And let's see what we got. What I want to do here is I want to just kind of check it out, see what we got. Let's see what we have for accessories here. Okay. Pull this up a little bit. There we go. Okay, so what do we got? We've got a nice convenient baggie with a Ziploc on it. And we have a couple of back plates here. We have our brackets for our fans. There are actually 4 of these altogether. I think we're only actually going to wind up using 2. Well, actually, no, I'm sorry. There are 4 brackets. It's 2 per fan. So we've got that. Those will be fun. We have our splitter here to hook up the 2 fans to 1 header. We've got our AMD and Intel brackets here. And we have our standoffs. Now, interestingly enough, they come in 3 different colors. There's a black, which says it's for 11.5X, which would be 1150, 1151, etc., and 1200. The middle here is the one we're actually going to wind up using, which is 1700. And the red ones here are AMD. No surprise there. So there you go. So this should be pretty simple to do. Let's just check the back plates real quick to see if they say anything. Yes, they do. I don't know if you'll be able to see this or not, but that says LGA 1700. So that's the bracket we're going to wind up using. This bracket here says it's for LGA 11.5X 1200. So we're not going to be using this one. And I'm guessing that if you're going to put this on AM4 and AM5, it uses the existing hosts that are available on those motherboards. So there isn't a separate bracket for those. So that's it. So we're going to wind up using this. And we're going to wind up using, I believe, these brackets here, because these say AM4 on them. So those are definitely the AMD brackets. We're not going to be using these. And they gave us some thermal paste to go on there. So the rest of this stuff, let's see. And they didn't perforate it, so I can't really separate them real. I'm just going to have to open up this with a pair of cutters and deal with it. So that'll be fun. That'll be fun. Anyway, let's put these brackets away. We won't need them. Let's put this here. We won't need this. So we can put this back in here. So we won't need those. And the only thing we're going to use are these standoffs here. Okay, so let's see, we have a couple of, interesting here. Let me just bring this up. We have these little thin covers here. There's some adhesive tape here. It's double-sided adhesive tape. So that once we put this on the back of the motherboard, it should stick there. Hopefully that will actually be the case and I won't have to fumble with this. So, all right, so let's get that process started and we'll go from there. All right, let's grab our motherboard. And you can see right here, we have just empty holes where that bracket's going to go. I'm going to peel these two pieces off here. That exposes the double-sided tape. And I should be able to just put this on here. And those double-sided pieces of tape are going to stick to this plate here. So, assuming that I do this correctly, there we go. So we're just going to lightly press on that. And that should, yeah, that holds it without any problem. Okay? Now, unlike some other people, I tend to look at instructions when I have to. At this point, I'm going to look at the instructions real quick. I think I know how this is going to go, but let's be sure. All right. Now, let's see. Again, I'm going to try to bring the camera down in here just a bit. Try to show you what we got. Okay, here's our little, this is the bracket that's on the back. You can see these little posts here just barely popping up here. Now, according to our manual here, okay, we're going to put the standoffs on. We're going to put the screws on with the brackets here. And it looks like we're going to go in the middle here, it looks like here. And then thermal paste, put the cooler on with the two screws, and then put the fans on. So that should be pretty straightforward. All right, so standoff there. Stand off there. Okay. Stand off here. And stand off here. Now, these brackets are probably only going to go on one way. I don't think they're going to go this way. I could be wrong. Let me double check the cooler, because the cooler is going to sit like this. So yes, that is correct. So they're going to sit here like this. Okay. One there. And one there. Let's get our screws here, which they provided with us. And I believe that diagram showed it. This kind of goes in the middle. See if I can get that to come down. Okay, that looks like it's right. Let's get this one here. It looks like it might be off slightly. And there's it's barely perceptible, but there is a spot here. It's kind of in the middle where that has to go. Otherwise, I don't think it lines up correctly. So let's get these two brackets down. Okay, that one there. And let's see, I'm just gonna kind of just make sure that it stops. There we go. I don't want them tight right at the moment because I don't think it's necessary that they be that tight right now. Obviously, when we go to put the actual cooler on, I'll make sure that they're snug beforehand. The screws seem to be a bit longer than they should be, but that's what they provided. So that's what we use. All right, so I'm going to do a real quick test fit here, make sure that I'm correct. Make sure that these screws here line up with these two posts here. Make sure that that's correct. I'm going to do a quick test fit. I just want to make sure again, these are just till they stop. I'll snug them down in a minute. I want to make sure that we're more or less there. Okay, looks like we're right. Yeah, that looks like, yeah, that should be pretty much right on target. So, yeah, that looks like that's right. Now, I'm looking at the way this cooler is sitting at the moment, and I've got heat pipes on this end that are touching this VRM heatsink over here. So I think it probably has to go this way, which will give us more clearance. Yes, that will give us more clearance. No more touching this VRM heatsink here. So now it's set like that. Okay, so that looks like that's right. So that's the way it's going to go on. You can see that the heat pipes are much more curved on this side here, and that when I had it the other way, this heat pipe was hitting this heatsink here. So that wasn't good. So I just turned it around. Everything should line up fine. Shouldn't be any problems whatsoever. So, all right, at that point, I think I'm just going to go ahead and snug down those brackets, make sure that they're reasonably tight, not over tight, and we'll go from there. You don't want to crank the hell out of them because you remember you're dealing with a multi-layer board. It's entirely possible if you tighten things down too much, you could cause damage to one of the inner layers of this board, and then the board's no good anymore. So anyway, okay, so that looks like that's pretty much right. we'll use the included thermal paste that they gave us, and I will go ahead and see what they gave us here. I'm just gonna put it down here. Now, I'm doing this kind of haphazard, so you can all yell at me if you want. I don't care. I'm just going to put this down because I'm going to spread it out anyway. This looks like it's actually reasonably thick paste. It's, I'm not sure if they manufacture this in-house or if they get it from somebody else, but this stuff looks like it's pretty thick stuff. So I don't think we'll have a problem here. All right, so let me get this kind of cleaned up a little bit, and we'll go ahead and I'll spread that paste around here in just a second. All right, so I got this little spatula type of thing here, which I will attempt to spread this out. Let me see if... Okay, that's a little better. See how much trouble I have doing this. This will be, oh yeah, this is amazingly thick stuff. I'm not sure that I'm actually going to be able to spread that well. Okay, there we go. That's better. This, yeah, this stuff is very thick. It's not like an MX4. MX4 spreads a lot easier than this does. This does not want to spread very well. That's interesting. That's very interesting. But I guess the good side of that is that because it's as thick as it is, it should be fine. Interesting. Yeah, it's thick. It's just, it doesn't want to stick very well. I may need a little bit more here. I'm a little surprised that it's this thick. But I'm not concerned. I'm just surprised, that's all. There we go. Yeah, it really doesn't want to cooperate very well. That's interesting. So Thermalright may want to reformulate this paste a little bit to make it a little easier to spread, because it's definitely not cooperating here, and I'm a little surprised at that. Okay, I'm going to leave it at that. It's not going to matter a whole lot, but it just, like I said, it surprises me that it's as thick as it is. All right, so again, it's really not going to matter much because once the heat sinks on, it'll spread. When it warms up, it'll spread. It's not going to be an issue. I don't anticipate there being any problems here. So let me go ahead and get the cooler itself on and make sure we peel our little thing. There we go. All right, so I need a large screwdriver to get down into here to get those screws down. So let me go grab that real quick and we'll get the cooler on. Okay, so I got my screwdriver and we're gonna go ahead and try to line this up as best we can. Okay, and get that hopefully started. Yep. Not quite there. Okay, I think that one's, yeah, that one started. And we're going to put a little pressure on this, get this one started. Yeah, I think, yeah, definitely the one that started. The other one I'm having trouble with. Yeah, it doesn't want to go on. So probably the brackets are a little out of whack here. So get this off of here. And as you can see, the paste is pretty much there. I think this has to be, let me just double check and make sure these brackets are correct. Okay. All right, I think I found out what I did wrong. Hang on. All right. Here's what I probably did wrong. You'll notice that these are both facing the same way. I'll bet you I need to have one of these facing the other way. So what happens if I rotate them? Let me double check the instructions here. Yeah, I've got one of them facing the wrong way. I think this one needs to move. I think these, yeah, I think these are supposed to be this way. Let's double check and see if that's right. All right, let's try this again. Okay, that one went on without any problem. Yep, and the other one went around. Okay, so that was it. I had the brackets sort of out of kilter. So that explains why I was having a little trouble. So when something doesn't fit, re-examine your work. So there we go. So now we're good. Let's get this thing down. Okay, that stopped. And that one has stopped. So they're down till they stop. Don't try to over-tighten them. Okay, so the next installment is going to be doing the fans. Now, we got to be very careful about how we put these fans in, because there's a distinct possibility that you could wind up putting these things in a push-pull configuration, if you will. So for example, if I put the fans in correctly, everything should flow from here through to here. if I put them in incorrectly, this fan may be pushing through here, but the other fan may be pushing this way. That's not going to help anything. So I got to make sure that the fans go in the correct way. Now, normally, the way it works is that the open side is where the air goes in and it comes out where the brackets are for the hub of the fan. That's the way it should normally work. So, assuming that that's correct, the one fan will go in here. And the other fan will go here. And that is sitting, as it sits right now, that fan is actually sitting on top of the RAM. So that's an interesting tight fit. It's a good thing I put the RAM in first, because you're never going to get them in without it. This is not going to necessarily be a problem. I can always raise the fan up just slightly off the RAM when I put the brackets on. So that shouldn't be too much of a problem. So, all right, so let's get one fan in. So that looks like that's going to go like that. Get the other one in. Okay, so that, actually those are going to fit on there without any problems. So let's just real quick put that there. Let's get this out of the way here. So get that on here. There we go. Now that should allow us to sneak this fan down in here. And then once it's in place, we're just going to pull these little brackets here till they line up. Make sure our fan is more or less where it's supposed to be. That looks like it's probably close enough. Okay, get that there. That one there. So that's the one fan. Now, theoretically, like I said, all of this should flow through here, through this, and then out the back of the chassis. So I think that we should be good. So let's get this like that. Let's get that set like that. There we go. All right, so in that position, it's sitting on the RAM. I don't want it sitting on the RAM. I want it up just slightly. So that should get me right about there. Okay. So there's our two fans all set. If we go look at the other side here real quick. All right, it looks like I may have to scoot that just a little bit, but as you can see, we are off the RAM. So we shouldn't have any problem with that. I may have to scoot this one up just a little bit. There we go. There it goes. So that's off the RAM. We don't have to worry about that. Okay. We've got both fans in. We've got our splitter here, so we're going to plug the fans into here. Let me scoot this down so you can see. We're going to scoot this down there. And this guy goes this way. They're keyed, so they only go one way. And so that is going to go into our CPU fan header, which we'll have to find here. That's CPU fan 2 water pump. So I'm going to make an assumption that, see, I don't know if I can show you that very well. There's the water pump header here. The one that's in here, down in here, I think is the one we actually want. So I'm going to go ahead and plug it into that particular header. I will dress up the cabling later, but I want to make sure that I think that's the right header. A little tough to get in there. Let me see if I can get this to line up. There it goes. Little, oops. Got it? Yeah, I think I got it. Looks like I got it. Okay, so assuming that that's in there correctly, which I think it is, we should be able to get everything set to go. So, all right, so there's our platform. Storage is in, and that also is a good thing I waited to put the storage in first, because obviously we have problems here with the cooler as well. So again, this is a very large cooler, so there's bound to be problems. All right, so all that's set to go. I'll get a power supply up here on the bench, and we're going to see if we can get a post out of it. Okay, so we've got everything set up here to see if this will fire up. I'm using a 500 watt EVGA semi-modular power supply modulator, P30 explosive space modulator. Anyway, got my HDMI plugged in. This is a 1200K, not a KF, so it does have internal graphics. We should be able to get something from this. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to turn the power supply on. And you may or may not be able to see that, but we have lights already. This is a good sign. So we're going to try and short the pins together that we need for power and see if this comes up. Okay, I have fans spinning. This is a good sign. And we'll just wait a few moments and see if this thing comes up. It should. There shouldn't be any real issue here. Oh, there we go. Okay. So it looks like we're there. Let me take this off the screen. There we go. Looks like it's working just fine. B760 Pro RS Wi-Fi. It is BIOS 1.01. I don't believe that's the current. I don't believe that's the current one for this board. It does show that our memory is silicone power. It's set to the default speed of 4000. That's fine. It recognizes the M.2 drive. That's fine. So it looks like memory here is good. So we don't have any issues at this point. So it booted up just fine. It does seem to say that we have a liquid cooler going on, which obviously is not the case. So I may still have that plugged into the wrong header. I will have to double check that and make sure that I have the correct header. I may not. But in either case, I will definitely check that out and make sure that I am on the right one before it goes out, because this is actually getting shipped to somebody. Okay, so all that looks good. So let me go find out what the latest BIOS version is for this thing, and we'll see if we can do a default Windows 10 Pro install on this. I'm not going to do 11 right now because the person that this is going to, I don't believe, is running 11 now. And I'd rather not try to confuse them. They can always do the upgrade later. And then my guess is it'll prompt to do the upgrade shortly after they fire this up. But in any case, let me go check and see what the latest BIOS version is for this, and we'll come back to it. Okay, so I did check on the website. This is the original BIOS. The current BIOS is a 5.0 something. So I've downloaded the file. I've got it on this drive here. I'm going to plug it into the system and give it a moment to recognize that the drive was plugged in. Hopefully, don't hit the fan. That would be helpful. And I will need to have my mouse and keyboard for this, which we will stick in here like so. And that should give us, there we go, some control. Apparently, there it is, air cooling. Apparently it defaults to AIO. So apparently you have to tell it that it's air cooling. So that's, I've never seen that before, but okay, yeah, whatever. I'm not going to sit here and argue with it. I'm just not going to, okay? But in any case, all right, so let's see. I've given it enough time. Well, we don't have BitLocker, so there's no operating system in here yet. So we're just going to go ahead. It found the right file. Do you want to do this? Yes. And, you know, we'll let it do its thing. It says after enter, the system automatically reboot. Please wait a few seconds. BIOS update will continue. So, well, I certainly hope so. Otherwise, we're going to be in deep doo-doo here. Let's hit OK. And we'll just wait for it to do its thing. Okay, so we're all set. You will notice now that the BIOS now reads. I got to get myself out of the screenshot here. Hang on. Okay, here we go. For our S5 Wi-Fi, you'll see that we're now at version 5.04, which is the current version as time of this recording. The XMP profile is not enabled. I will not be enabling it right away. At this point, what I want to do is I want to go ahead and see about installing Windows 10 Pro on this guy to make sure that everything is copacetic, and I want to run some stress tests. So let's do that. Okay, so I've got my Windows 10 USB thumb drive right here, and we're going to do a little bit of magic here. I'm going to plug this into the back of the board. One of the USB ports right there. And we're going to restart this thing. And hopefully that should get us started and hopefully booting off of the USB thumb drive, because there's nothing else it can boot to. There's nothing on the NVMe drive. Oh, there we go. Okay, we're going to go through the motions of a Windows 10 Pro install, and we'll see how long this takes. So everything else there is correct. Let me make myself a little bit smaller on the screen, because it's probably not a bad idea that I do that. And let's make that little tiny. There we go. Okay, so next, install now. don't have a product key because we don't have a product key. We're going to put one in later. Windows 10 Pro. And hit next. We accept the license terms. Nobody actually reads those things, although they probably should. Custom install. There's our drive. And just hit next. And then we just let it go. Let it do its thing. Okay, so we are all set. It's going to reboot here. I'm going to remove the flash drive from the back of the machine. And it should go through the rest of the install. Okay, here's our usual setup. United States, yes. Although some people would say California's not United States, but whatever. Welcome to America. There we go. US, yes. Skip the keyboard, yes. Not connected. Don't have internet. Boom. Have a nice day. Continue with limited setup. Boom, boom, boom. And we're going to put a name in here. That name will give away who this is actually for. There we go. We're not going to put a password in for right now. I'll let him just worry about that later. All right, we're going to turn off all this Find My Device, all this here, this advertising ID, tailored experience, no, send required only. The only thing we're going to do is location. And hit accept. Not now. And we should get to the Windows desktop here shortly. Okay, here we are. We're all set. So maybe later. And there's no internet connection here. This should be 22H2. I don't remember if that's what I have it set for or not. Let's just double check. System, yes, it is 22H2. So that's correct. All right, let's double check what the resolution is. My guess is the display is set to, 150%, which no. 100% is fine. There we go. That's much better. Okay, so we're all squared away there. All right. Things we want to take care of right off the bat. I'm going to plug a network cable into this thing and see if I can get it to pull down some Windows updates. There we go. Network. Discover no. We want to leave that alone. Okay, you want to one-step install for the latest drivers. Well, yeah, let's go ahead and do that. ASRock has this nice little thing they have embedded in their system that allows it to go out and pull down drivers. So we're going to go ahead and do that. Okay, so here's our auto driver installer. And these are all of the drivers that it wants to do. So we're just going to let it go ahead, and they're all selected, which is fine. Select all. We're just going to hit update here. During installation, system may reboot. Yep, that's fine. We're not worried about that. So we're going to go ahead and let it do its thing. And once that's done, we're going to go through and look at a couple of things. I'm going to run some stress tests with it and make sure that the cooler can handle the 12700K. I'm reasonably confident that it should not be an issue. And by the way, this thing is pretty much dead quiet. There's no noise here. I can't even hear the fans running. Just out of curiosity, let's go take a look at Windows Update itself and see what it might be doing in the background, because there's always that possibility too. Yeah, see, Windows Update is got a bunch of stuff. We'll get to that. We'll get to it. Okay, so there we go. So installation done. Hit OK. So we're there. All right, next thing we're going to do is we're going to see what's going on with Windows updates. I'm sure there's something going on there. Let's get this thing out where it belongs. There we go. Okay, Ethernet. Let's look and see what Windows Update's got going on. Okay, so we do have a few of them. We're going to go ahead and let those go. And we got pending install. We got a retry on something. So anyway, we're just going to go install now and let it do what it wants to do. And after we're done with this, I will do some stress tests. We'll run Prime 95. We'll check and see if the cooler is as good as I expect it to be. We'll see about that too. So I'm going to let this continue. I will probably edit some of this stuff as we go. Okay, looks like everything is set to go. Let's go ahead and do the restart on this. Okay, so let's do some basic testing here real quick. I'm going to plug in an external drive here, which will give us a couple of things that we can run here. Get that plugged in. I think that's in. Let's double check. Shit, there it goes. Look at this. All right, we're going to copy over a couple of things from this drive. We're going to take Cinebench. We're going to take hardware monitor. And we're going to take Prime 95. We're going to copy all these over to the desktop. So we've got those there. I also want to make sure that I copy over my other information here. So I go through here and pull that drive up. The other thing I wanted to do was I wanted to get Crystal Disk Mark, which should be on this drive. Yes, Crystal Disk Mark. I want to take and copy that. And paste that there so we can run all of our stuff. So let's start with Crystal Disk Mark. Now, this is a silicone power Gen 4 drive. It's not the fastest drive, but it is pretty damn quick, and it's a reasonably good value. So let's go ahead and hit this. And we are on C drive. And let's do all the tests just for the hell of it, see what we get. Okay, so there's our final numbers. Silicon Power UD90 is advertised as being a 5,000 read and 4,800 write. So obviously we've exceeded the reads, and we're 3 megabytes per second off of the 48. So that's completely acceptable. There's nothing wrong here. You could spend another anywhere between 20 to 40% more on a top of the line drive and get the 7500 that you're supposed to get. But honestly, this is absolutely 100% acceptable. There's no problem here whatsoever. So we've got that. All right, let's bring up our hardware monitor here. We'll run this, get this up on the screen. Okay. So let's go ahead and look at our temperatures for our E cores and P cores just before we run this test. Pull that up. And let's pull up our Prime 95. And let's get that started. Now, again, you're going to want to watch where the temperatures are as we start this test. And watch also the clock speeds. Because what we're looking for is to see if, first of all, do we hit 100 degrees C? My guess is no, we're not going to see that at all. And does the thing throttle? That's the only two things we're really concerned about with this test. And Prime 95 is not, it's not a quote unquote normal thing. Most people will never bang the crap out of their machine the way this thing does. So let's get this started. And let's run about a 20-minute test and see what happens. All right, as you can see, we have our temperatures. At no point did we get above 78 C, so everything is fine there. You will note that I'll stop the test and we'll go from there. But it looks like the thing won't start, Intel won't start throttling until it reaches 100 C, and we're well below that. We're 22 C below that, so there should not be any issues here whatsoever having this running at full bore. The cooler's doing its job. Everything looks great. There should be no issues here whatsoever. So we're going to stop the test and get this out of here. And I think you'll agree that this is probably just fine. There should not be any issues here whatsoever. There's one more test that I am going to run. But at the moment, I'm going to go check and see what we have here on Windows Updates, just to double check. We've got a cumulative update. Okay, that's fine. So I'm going to let the cumulative update go, install itself, restart. And when I come back, I want to do a couple of two Cinebench R23 runs. And basically what that's going to entail is I'm going to run one test with the base frequency for the memory, which at the moment is 4800. I'll then enable the XMP profile. I'll rerun the Cinebench test and see how much of a change in score that really is. I don't anticipate it being a lot, but we'll see. We'll see. In the meantime, I will get this done. I will have this machine restart, and when it comes back, we'll do the two Cinebench runs and go from there. All right, so it's been a day or two. I found out that the memory that I had selected was not going to run at the XMP value. It refused to. I tried several times, tried to figure out what was going on. The silicone power memory would not run at the 6,000 speed that it was supposed to be running. In fact, it caused all kinds of problems. It caused the system to hang, just trying to post. And when it did finally post, it complained that the machine restarted several times and now it had to reset this, that, or the other thing. And the memory reverted back to 4,800. And on one occasion, it reverted to 3,600, and I have never seen any DDR5 memory ever do that. So, suspecting that the RAM was the problem, I went ahead and what I did was I simply went and bought different memory. I bought this G.SKILL stuff that's here. It cost roughly about $13 more. But the good news is that with that $13 more, I got everything to work correctly. Everything was fine. So we're good. I did run the Cinebench tests. The results are actually, if I pull this up here real quick and we expand on this a little bit, I just want to show this to you real quick. I only ran a single run with XMP off and a single run with XMP on. So the numbers would vary probably if I ran several different things. But basically the point difference between having just the base speed and the XMP was roughly 450, 475 points. Not insignificant. And if you did multiple runs of each, you probably would find the difference is going to probably average out to be about 400 points. So no big deal. Anyway, with that being said, that's pretty much it. This is now done. This is going to be shipped off, and hopefully the person who's receiving this, Tony, will enjoy this over his current platform. So that's pretty much it. We're done. I will put the final parts list in the video description. The silicone power, like I said, is out. That was returned to Amazon. That's in process. I went ahead and got the G.SKILL, and that was it. As soon as I did that, all the problems went away. So I am a happy guy. With that, we're pretty much done. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks for putting up with me for this long. And hopefully everything will go fine once this is in Tony's case. Y'all have a good day.